Hello there, welcome back to Perkins Pipes. Got an interesting topic for us today. It has to do with language. It has to talk with how we can hurt each other through language and some of the particular ways that human beings have done that over the years. And particularly, there's one expression I'm going to look at from Latin, and it has to do with this. It has to do with the cross. Now, this, of course, is the cross of Jesus, and that will certainly be figuring into this. This is the 2025 Bent Plum Perkins Pipes pipe. So we can get that up here. See if we can get that in the light. I don't know. Shows the Perkins Pipes logo on the bottom of the bowl, and this is the year that we had the scripture on it, John 6:68-69. And, of course, the cross that my son designed, all produced by Caleb at the Catholic Pipe Company. So, appropriate pipe for this topic. As always, let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. We have many ways of hurting each other through language. We can tell somebody, hey, you're stupid, you're ugly. We can comment on their physical appearances or some ability or lack thereof that the person has, doesn't have, whatever. But there are some particular ways that we wish people harm. We wish them ill. And there's one that's kind of, in English, it's kind of the maybe the nuclear option, I don't know. It involves the word God and something that a beaver builds. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to talk about that in today's episode. I'm going to talk about that one in another episode. One of our common expressions used to be to tell somebody, go to hell. I got to be honest, I don't know the last time I really heard somebody say that. In television, movies, read it in a modern novel, heard it in casual conversation. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when I last heard that expression. We moved on to other things. I think and we had an episode on the absurd ubiquity of the F word. I'll link to that in the notes here. That one got a lot of comments and a lot of views. We like to tell people to F themselves or go F yourself. Presumably you don't want that person to do that in your space, so go over there and do that. I suppose is what's going on behind that expression. That seems to have replaced go to hell. The Romans went it one better, or worse, depending on your perspective. There's an expression the Romans used, Latin of course, that sometimes gets translated, go to hell. And I'm going to bring the text up when I say this, because I want you to see the Latin. You could tell somebody, e in crucem, or e in malam crucem. Or if you're saying it to multiple people, you could say ite in crucem, or ite in malam crucem. We'll keep the singular to say e in crucem. That meant go to the cross. Actually, go onto the cross, not just toward it, go onto it. And if you really wanted to give it an extra punch, you say e in malam crucem, go onto the bad cross. Now, you got to understand about crucifixion. It wasn't unique to the Romans, but we associate it predominantly with the Romans. You think of somebody being nailed on two pieces of wood, hands and feet. You're suffering blood loss. You are suffering from having been flogged first, so your back is up against this rough wood. The really horrible part is the loss of oxygen. You're slowly losing your air as your own weight is pressing down to compress your lungs. So the natural thing is you want to push up with your feet, which of course are nailed to wood, but you'll do that just so you can take a breath. Well, that causes your back to slide up and down the vertical post of the cross. And if your back has been scourged, it's flayed open, and so you're doing it to yourself basically as you rub your open wounded back against this wood just in order to take a breath. Now this could go on for hours, it could go on for days. If the Romans were really in a hurry, they could break your legs so you could no longer push up to relieve the pressure on your lungs, and that would cause you to really just be crushed, all the oxygen crushed out of your lungs, and you'll die more quickly. Everybody knew what this was. Everybody knew it was horrible. Can you imagine them being so angry with somebody that you would wish that upon them? I hate you so much. I want you to be crucified. Can you imagine that? You've done me so wrong. You've stolen from me. You hurt me. Whatever it is you've done is so bad. I don't just want you to die. I want you to be crucified. And if I really want to rub salt in your wound, I say, go to the bad cross, as if there's a good one. But I emphasize, I put that extra little bit in there. Go to the bad cross. Now, I can see why this sometimes gets either translated or claimed to be the equivalent of the English go to hell. The notion of hell being an eternal torment, an eternal punishment. And so again, you got to ask yourself, how much do you have to hate somebody to wish that upon them? I can see being so angry with somebody, you know what? I hope you get a rock in your shoe when you first go out to your car in the morning and you don't have a way to get it out all day long. You got to walk around with a pebble in your shoe all day. Now, that's going to be really irritating and really bothersome, but at the end of the day, you're going to be able to take that rock out of your shoe, right? How much do you really have to hate somebody to say go to hell? Or in malam crucem? Yeah, the fact is these expressions exist. So obviously, people do feel that level of hatred. Or maybe not. Sometimes I think people just get frustrated and say whatever. I don't know that they stop and think about it. Oh, go to hell. You said something that's really bothered me, has offended me. Oh, go to hell. Do you really mean that? Maybe not. And I don't know, perhaps a Roman might have said, Ian malam crucem, in the same offhand sort of way. Now, the cross has obviously become the symbol of life through Jesus Christ. But there's also something else to consider. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and God was the Word, John 1. Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 1. We think back to Genesis. God said, let there be light. There was light. There's something about words and speaking that are tied up integrally in the nature of God and God's work. Perhaps we should be a little more careful. if you don't really mean that you want somebody to spend eternity in torment, if you don't really mean that you want somebody to suffer the torturous execution of crucifixion, then watch what you say. Maybe we shouldn't say that. And of course, if you're feeling that level of hatred in your heart, where you actually do wish that level of hurt and harm to somebody, well, this guy took the punishment for those who hated him. He didn't hate him back. Some verse to think about today, folks. As Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I like to say in Latin, Parva ago ut tandem nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.